couple of them hit 5 pounds, and the other ones hit 2 pounds. But my goal was to hunt. 3 weeks ago, I got a open duck season. I'm down there. Barrel last year, the hole that I had.
I missed about the first 2 minutes.
Fast ducks can fly when you're trying to.
Hopefully the volumes are not.
They're still
yeah, I had my hook scoped on Friday.
Yeah. I've hunted all my life. I play golf, so I can hunt. My wife and I have hunted all around the world.
Cleaned out some bone. I should get some better location.
I would not want to mess with my wife. Yeah.
You got no rotation. That's why I did it.
So you would be good on deer or bear or stuff like that. I was bear hunting this summer. I got a bear me to you. Climbed right up my stand.
Because you're up the stand, that's right.
I'm good at coots too. I was in the desert with coots throwing corn. No, my son was in the stand the day before, and I didn't know he didn't like raisins. And I watched 3 bears. And the next thing I know, there's only one there, not paying attention. And he'd been chucking raisins out of the stand, 30 feet up this tree. Next thing I know, his head's closer to 3 inches. Right here, and I'm going, this right. And later that night, I had one that climbed up in with me. I had the door open and everything. Well, this is junior guy. The junior guy went about 350 pounds. So he had a big one or two. No, no. Not a lot of other things. I will shoot a bear this June now that I know what colors I'm looking for. Okay. Yeah, your question?
Yeah, I have a question about your career. Do you feel like you putted the same consistently throughout your career, or did you have a series of years that were better than others? And if so, when?
I was extremely good at first, but I went on tour and I realized I thought everybody was like me. My dad never let me read golf magazines. My dad was my only teacher. I played all sports. I broke my back when I was 15. I liked to play baseball and basketball. But at that point, then I started 15 since I couldn't play the other sports, started playing golf. Didn't read golf magazines to where my dad taught me. That's what I did. So I went out on tour thinking everybody was like me, which everybody like me would have been hitting 7 or 8 greens around and averaging probably about 26 putts around. I thought that was normal. My first tournament, I played with Howie Johnson.
I know how.
I beat him by 12. I think I had 12 less putts or something than him. Poor old Howie's hitting it good, and I'm hitting it everywhere. And I beat him by, I don't know, 5 or 6 shots. But my putting was fine for the first 3 or 4 years, and then I started hitting the ball better, get up where I could hit 12, 13, 14 greens around. And then my putting stats went down, and I didn't realize, it was the only probably lull I ever had, was that the fact that I'm now hitting greens, and I've got 35 footers or 25 footers instead of chipping it up. I mean, I would catch myself playing, not caring where the driver iron went, but get really excited under 100 yards, because then I could get creative. But it's kind of like when Mickelson told me he was lost. I'm thinking, yeah, he's like me, that our bad putting days are better than most people's good putting days. You just don't realize it. But my career has basically been very, very similar the whole time. I mean, I was always, the first 5 years in the senior tour, I was the #1 putter 4 out of 5 years. Never out of the top 4 or 5. And I've never really had a problem putting at all. Like my older son, Dave Jr., putts with a claw. I mean, there's different ways to do it for different people. But my career, has always been, my career is based on mental, #1. I've always tried to outsthink people. And if I wish with my back I could never hit it far because I don't have my one leg any shorter than the other. And I can't transfer all the weight to get the distance. So there had to be other ways to compensate.
Left leg.
Yeah. That's like 3/4. I don't know. Most people's are. It's unbelievable. You go to, if you have, as much as we play and you have back problems, people find out that they ought to have their legs checked. It helped me. It kept me out of Vietnam. I didn't go to an orthopedic surgeon until right before I went through the draft in 1966. And 500 and some was winning San Bernardino. There were only 2, a Mexican kid who they immediately put into a chair because he must have some kind of heart condition. And myself, but only 2 out of 500 plus that didn't get accepted. But then I figured out that like my shoes, there were a half-inch lift in my left shoe. I As soon as I did that, that's the most I can do, but it solved the back problem. But the senior tour, I was in better shape than what I was on the regular tour.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, good putters seem to always quiet their thoughts. You know, you see people that are nervous.
Yes.
And I just wonder if you could give us a little insight about how to do that, or how to really be positive.
I think, and that's one of the things you're trying to teach. You're mentioning amateur and stuff. I think mental is 90%. And that's why I'm really interested in what a person's thinking. That's what I want to see, the routine. Why are you taking this much time? Why are you walking around? Girls are much harder to teach than guys. Girls worry about everything. My son Ronnie ought to be in the sainthood by the time he's got 8 now with the PGA. I mean, it's tough. I mean, Morgan Pressel wore him out on Saturday night this last week when she's playing the Rams tournament down there. Just absolutely wearing him out about how bad putting's terrible and all this. He's trying to give her the right stuff. You know, of course she is up shooting 67 and finishing third. And I texted her back. I said, what's all the BS? She was giving a few other words about giving Ronnie. And she just laughed. She said, I cried on the green practicing on Saturday. I got so frustrated. And when I finally just gave up and I went out and I smiled for every shot the next day. I mean, it's little gimmicks that you can do. But in putting, what I'm trying to do, give you an idea. My second PGA one was a congressional. And I faced about a 15-footer the last hole. And I had Cootie, and I don't even remember who the other one was. I'm bad about not remembering this stuff. But they both were outside me and going to putt first. And let me clear the stage. If I don't make it, then I go on a playoff with Floyd in January. And so I look at this 15-footer, and I know it's inside right. But I'm going to wind it up. By the time Cootie picks the ball out of the hole, I know I have the putt underway within 15 seconds. Okay, and that gets down to signing your signature. If you take more time on something that you intend to have, you will not be as good. And that's why when you teach people, I don't want them to try. And one of the tricks I use, I'll be working with them, and I've gone through the routine, and they're taking time because they're trying to think of all these things, right? Okay, like Yanni, she comes away. Well, this is a good example for you. She had 40 putts last round at Canadian Open before they're going to Arkansas. She called and asked if I was going to be in town. I said, yeah. She said, well, I'm sending my caddy to Arkansas and I'm coming home. So she came back to the Valley. So we go out there. I got in the cart, drove up by the putting green in Oak Valley, kept on going, went to the first tee. I said, I want you to ship me a tee shot. What am I doing? It's a tee shot, go out in the fairway, shoot down, killed it. So I pulled her back to an 8-iron. She had an 8-iron about 3 feet. So I pulled that back to about 15 foot, and her routine was so bad on the putting because she wasn't comfortable. I said, now we'll go to the putting green. I said, it's all in your mind, for starters. But it's like what I did at Congressional is the fact that once they had it down, I had my ball on the ground, briefly looked on the side, came in behind it, bent down, came right back up, and got over the ball and controlled it. It's either going to go in or it's not going to go in. And by worrying about her, trying about her, thinking about what, you just destroy yourself. I mean, my favorite tournament to watch is the Masters. And the history there of guys that have absolutely blown it. Ed Sneed, Scott Hoke. I mean, it's just absolutely. I mean, they got these great routines for 16 or 17 holes, and all of a sudden it goes into fucking pain. You know, because it means something. This is, you know, it's all in the mind. I mean, that's what it is. Serious part. Any other question on putting? So I want to cover chipping before we.
I got just a quick on that subject. I was working with a girl yesterday, actually, who played on the women's Canadian amateur team. A very high-level amateur, went to Ohio State, I think. And anyway, she was aiming left, coming through square, about 1.5 degrees, so half cup out from 14 feet, or aiming square, coming through open. Predominant misses, right? Everything's making sense. I started just talking to her about, and with different putters, she did the same thing with all of them. So kind of your code out based on what you're talking about. It didn't matter. I put a bunch of different putters in her hand, she still did it. I started talking to her about Dave's philosophies about what we're just talking about, approaching you're approaching the ball, approaching your setup, rolling the ball over that point, an inch in front of the ball. We just talked about it, and I got her thinking differently than she was thinking about putting. And literally, she hit the next putt. She aimed .4 and impacted 0. Right? Not only did she square the face, but she aimed it correctly. Without giving her a mechanical way to fix it, by literally just giving her a different way to think about her putting, she fixed her own problem. Instead of being 3 degrees inside out, she was .2. The face was squared addressed, the face was squared impact, and she was .2 through impact. But just a thought process. That's how powerful this stuff can be.
I mean, the spot putt is unbelievable to me. I mean, I'll take a tee, just drill it right in the ground, and you say roll it over. Yeah.
When you're talking routine, you're talking about the way you spot putt. Do you still have a soft focus on watching the ball go in the hole?
I'll see it go in the hole.
You'll see it go
Oh,
in.
absolutely. I mean, maybe not from 3 feet.
Right.
Now wait a minute. So wait.
So I mean, you have your spot that's in front of it, but
Right.
you have a soft focus still on the idea of how it's entering the cup, or
No,
have
now
you've
I'm
just seen
like-
that prior?
Now
and then
I've seen that prior.
Okay.
That's what's lined me up. I've lined myself up that way. That's like one thing Mickelson did is he stepped up the ball and he kept looking at his hands. I said, what the hell are you looking at your hands for? He said, well, I like to see the face. And I said, well, is your grip on crooked? No. I said, well, if you put your thumb straight up and down, I can have my eyes closed and I know where the face is. Yeah. It was one of the things he eliminated.
Because I know Lauren Roberts has always mentioned that basically he never lines up the putter. He just starts the ball in the line and chooses how to do it.
I mean, I line up the face in relation to how far I can put my hands in it. I mean, I just work with the way. I mean, they're trying to figure out why my roll was so much better, which came to the conclusion that, you know, I've got a lot of loft, 4 degrees. Mickelson, after we worked, went from 5 to 6.5 degrees of loft. And I mean, just that way, forward press your hands. I mean, you're putting your direction hand, in this case, the right hand, nearer the target. And if it just goes right through. Now, I will tell you something I haven't touched on, is that, do you generally teach people to overlap, reverse or overlap?
I usually have them the top hand go down over the bottom hand a little bit.
Okay, well now,
I go anywhere from 1 to 3 fingers, depending what their comfort
I
level is.
try to go never over 1. They want to go 2. Mickelson was here and hook like Weisskopf, which I hate. That's the most tension up the arm. Considerable tension. I had him overlap in this case like this. He went from here. And you'll see it's going to come out in Golf Magazine. They got a couple of great pictures before and after. Because he had it down here like this. But as soon as I had him, he said, I've never done that. I said, well, let's try it. He had 2 or 3. He said, oh my God, that's much softer. Okay, it's much softer. So I let him putt for like 10 minutes, and I said, okay, which hand do you take the putter back with? Okay, in his case, being left-handed, it would be his left hand. Okay, in our case, most of it being right hand, be the right hand. Okay, I tell him I take it with the overlapping finger. So, and you can see it. Okay, because in my case, now, bear me out. Okay, now this is a mechanical person. Let's say you set dead square. Okay, then you forward press. All right, you got me. Then you take it back. Well, in reality, what I'm doing is being neutral. As soon as I start forward, this trigger finger for me lets the club go back. Dead opposite of Utley, because I want to keep the putter square or closed. If anything, in the old days, yes, in the old days I used to take the heel back before the toe. But in reality, when I'm saying forward press, I'm not saying forward press here, because then now generally the people will pick it up. If I forward press, and as I forward press, this kicks it, I can just keep it right on the ground. This hand is preset just to go right to the hole. And some of the things you show them is that most bad putters, where's the butt of the club end up? It ends up at their belly button or behind it. I said, you want to make it simple? Again, like a spot putt, I think of this grip and try to keep it vertical. I'm right here. There's no breakdown. Hence, I've got perfect speed because there's no release. Dead opposite of what they're talking about, this open and closing. So in other words, I will tell them, a lot of times I'll stick a club in here so that they can't back it up. I'll put a club right in here. I say, okay, forward press, go, and I want them to go here. I don't want them to go like that, because generally most people try to flip it with their right hand.
So, after all is said and done, it looks like you work more on removing interference, including that where the head is accelerating at a different rate in there, and mental interferences, and just allowing them to putt with confidence that they see the line and they just let it go and simplify it, remove the interference.
Absolutely.
And,
I do a lot with the left hand, again slightly open, to make the back of the left hand never break down. And you'd be amazed when they do it one-handed, left-handed, they can't do it at first, but then they can do it really good. You put your right hand on the club, guess what happens? The club stops. Even if they don't kick it, because the right hand's on here now, it's going to restrict the left and not let it get to where it wants to get to.
well, it's interesting because I was at the seminar and Ronnie was telling us about that.
Oh,
but when I tried to use just my left hand, I felt like I was manipulating the club more. I mean, how do you relax that so you don't get the tension?
To me, there's no tension. I mean, it's just, well, part of it, that's why I forward press. I mean, if I was here, not far enough, and see this, I hate this.
Right.
I mean, I do not want to see this somebody's cutting stroke. So once I get here, then I'm preset to just go through it.
So the putter doesn't kind of
Yeah.
lay your
Oh, no.
hand back down in there?
No. I mean, that's stand up. Take a putting grip. No, like you're putting toward me. Turn around. Back then. Okay, go ahead, just grab it like you're going putter. See, this is where I would be here, and I'd bring this out here, and I'd make your stroke on a 6-footer. That's okay. Yeah, you got to take a backswing, but that's what I want. See, I'm visualizing the old days with a FootJoy glove. The emblem on the glove is I want to put that emblem in the hole, and that's literally what I'm trying to put in the hole. And that's what's so radically different than most of the. So I don't understand this opening and closing because I don't understand how you can have the right speed. I mean, a good putter can, but how can you teach that to somebody else? I mean, after working with Michelle Lee, God, the phone rang off. The first 6 or 7 pros, from Steve Lowry on down that came, it all saw Utley before, and they were just like lost. And I'm a little lost when I get to that because to me that just doesn't make sense.
Well, his deal is the shoulders, though, isn't it? I mean, because
I don't even think of my shoulders. I don't even think of
swing your arms, basically.
It's just feel.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're shooting pool, are you thinking about what your shoulder's doing?
Yeah.
I mean, you can think about all these things, but you're sure as hell not going to tell your students because that's stuff they don't need to know. And Michelle, especially Phil. I mean, the opening comment after a few changes, and I mentioned you have the script, and this goes, oh my God, that's easier. God, I can feel. That's what you want them to get.
So moving into chipping, are you doing the same thing? You're just basically taking the back of your left hand?
Yeah. I was laughing because Michelle Lee shows up, and I was hoping her parents didn't come, but that didn't happen. And there she's carrying her putter, and I turned her dad around to go back and get her wedge because I was not going to work with her until the chipping. Because in February, this was priceless. Ronnie is in Phoenix, where she's playing, and he's helping Morgan Pressel. And I do not know if they're standing 15 feet away from Michelle Lee, who's getting a lesson from Ledbetter. And she's got her feet dead square, like this, and Ronnie says, comical. Now, I've yelled at my wife, Kathy, to come in to watch TV. We're in Rebel. You got to see what this guy's doing. And he's trying to get her to use her knees. But Ronnie said he positioned himself perfectly, so the camera got him, right in the right spot, the whole 9 yards. And he's pushing her knees, trying to go. So I'm dying to get a hold of her. So, in chipping, 2 of the things I do. Number 1, I get people to stand as tall as I can. I don't want them choke standing. Okay? Because what happens is we play around, your posture, you're going to get lower, not taller. Okay? So you'd like to have as much as you can, because the last thing you want to do is be hitting some delicate shot out here as this part of our body's going up. So I try to teach them like you and I are shaking hands, and I get them the first thought a good player does. We're here. We've already done our knees. We've already flexed our knees. We're flexed and ready to go. Bad person standing here and goes like this, then has no clue how close or far to stand with the ball. So I want them to get as tall as they can. I mean, right up on the end of the club. So then I tell them, I said, I want you to stand there and you look at my top of my head against the mountain or sky or clouds or whatever. Okay, and the shortest club in my bag, I mean, even this is shorter than my wedge, and I come down to hit this, and I would get to right here. My head would only come down this much. But, as you teach people, they're down about chest high. Well, as they go to hit it, they're going to be coming up as you're trying to get them to go out. Okay, that's the first part. The second part is that under 30 yards, I turn both feet dramatically. And now you can go to Golf Digest this week and you can go through all the Mickelson secrets that he's going to have to redo. Okay? Because he's chipping. Here he is with his little left-handed chip shot. And he flips everything. The stance is like this. This foot's dead straight. If I'm hitting a shot to that wall, even somebody as good as him, there's a good chance that this knee, you can't turn that far, it's going to go out. And if you bend down, this is for the average person, he's going to suck himself right up, and he'll stub it. So basically what I do is I turn both feet toward the target because we want them, where do we want their weight? We want the weight on the left side, right? I want them to get where they can just pick up the right foot and not even have it on the ground, okay? But the key is that this knee is going to be able to go right toward the target, just like this, and this stays quiet. And I have them hit a couple of shots. One on the end, like this, let get off the back foot, right through it, okay? I said, well, maybe I'm wrong. Choke it all the way down to the steel. They choke it all the way down. Now, as soon as they do this, they got a shorter club. They're going to have to take it farther, and all the pressure and power is going to come out of here. So now, instead of standing tall and this not even moving, because the bottom released, now since it's not going to release, and you're down here, terrible feeling to them, and much harder feeling. Okay? So that's the start in chipping. Now, with like Mickelson, this blew me away. Yeah.
Are you able to wear your lip?
Pardon?
Are you able to wear your lip by the root at all?
Absolutely.
But keeps you more sore.
Well, yeah. Keeps my hips from going out. When I first 2 years on tour, the most tournaments I ever played in a row without my back going out was 3.
What happens if our right shoulder was lower than your left side?
I don't know. Figure out a way to compensate for it. Right shoulder is lower than the left.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, basically, I didn't know you could wear a lip.
Oh, absolutely. It's 1 out of 3 guys on tour will wear something like that. It's funny, when I got my half inch, different people ended up, I put them in every shoe. And I got a half inch rubber one that I put in tennis shoes and like front boots and stuff. Okay, now, when you're chipping with people, the tendency is for them to set the club away from them, hands down, which again is going to make it a right-handed shot. And if this is rough or if this is a sand trap, that's fine. That's no problem. But like what blew Mickelson away is I pulled the ball right up to him. I mean, within 6 inches of him. I said, hit it. He had no chance. He's just used to getting the hands down and doing all this stuff. But if you pull, and this was developed by Dale Douglas in the mid-70s, but if you turn this club, I'm vertical. If I turn it, you can see how little this club's hitting the ground. Okay? Now, when you're changing kind of grass you're hitting every week, if you're not touching much of the grass, you can get the club through a hell of a lot easier. Now, this is on a shot designed for hard pan. In fact, when Mickelson tried, I took him over to a sprinkler box. Just dropped the ball in the sprinkler box. It was a cement sprinkler box. He said, go ahead and hit it. You can put this thing. First of all, he can't go like this because it's going to bounce right into it. So he had to get like this. And I said, the more you hood it, the more you turn it, the less it's going to hit the ground. He went nuts. Because I said, I got him working where he's hitting shots like here. They're going to go very low, hands ahead, just the toe hitting the ground, down, okay? Then I said, okay, now you want one, let's say we're going here to the crutches, okay? You put it extremely far forward, keep it close to you and keep your hands back, and you simply just slide the toe under it. Just slide the toe under, the ball's going to go right up in the air without having to worry about this fancy flip and dip shots you got. And he literally, the last hole at the President's Cup, he faced, I texted him, I was really proud of him, is that he used the right of the green and the pin was back left on 16. And he had if they knew he couldn't carry it over the knob because it would have stopped, it would have gone off the green. He put this thing back in a stance, and they're pretty good rough, but I guess he thought he could get on the back of the ball, and he hit it about 4 feet. And then this last one, they won in China. Did you see? He went right under. Did you see it? Did you see a second shot? Absolutely. And you see what he did? All of a sudden, his feet went like this, and it was way back in his stance, and it was right on top of it. He hit that low shot up the hill.
Out of his own divot.
Now, the first one, obviously, had to be the high shot because of the lie and everything. But once he'd moved it or something, he could get at the back of the ball, and he wasn't going to try that flop again. And by next year, by the time we work some this winter, I'm excited because he was all one-dimensional. And like when you're teaching people chipping, I try to explain to them, you got two shots, and one is not an in-between shot. And you all know, all the people you've taught, they like to do it in between. So what was that? Well, it was a high shot, low shot, or whatever. You know, just. I said, I don't want that. I want you to put it on the deck. You know, and I'll do any clinic I do. I'm going to finish with a 60-degree sandwich. And the first shot I hit will go 30 feet and won't get this high off the ground. And I'll hide the club behind my feet. When you're giving clinics, people watch where the ball goes. They don't watch technique. In fact, some of the best ones are just like we're doing now, indoors, where I got your full attention. Because most of the time, people are watching what the ball does. And I'll hide the club, and I'll say, what was that club? And somebody will say a sandwich. I say, you hit your sandwich that low? They go, pitching wedge or 9-iron. So I just immediately bring the next one up, put it forward, and go boom, in the same spot, throw it straight up in the air. I said there's dramatically different techniques. Okay? The first one is like your putting. It's all left-handed. And even these good players that we deal with, they're not used to chipping with their left hand. You gotta aim left. I turn my feet. Left hand goes right into the target. Never breaks down. And like we were working with a girl yesterday from Venezuela. And doing this, she's still, and I can't with my shoulder, she get the club up to here. I said, that's not where you want it. You're going to hit it here. You're just going to keep it right down. Just right down here low. 90% of the time are low shots. And you work on them because you work on them, get them aiming left, so that they're seeing it going left to right. They have to go right to left, fine. But it's better, right to left's harder because that's the right hand, so you might overpower the left and you're not going to get as clean a shot. Then when you have the high shot, what do? You take your left hand and forget the left hand going through because you want to try to stop the left hand. So that the right hand can go through and just keep the club face open and you get the shot you want to hit. But when you're working and teaching people, you don't want to hit the in-between shot. And that's why I get into the chipping, because the chipping makes more sense. By the time you've done, it relates back to the putting, especially in this left hand.
What's the longest you would hit a shot like that? I mean, do you
30 yards. You mean with my feet?
Yeah.
30 yards.
Running in close. 30
Probably up to 30, maybe 40 yards. You know, but most of us shots are green stuff. You know, I just use the standard whatever. I know nothing about grinds, so I mean I don't know how to change a grip. So I tell them George Willett and the guys. I mean, I describe to them what the club's doing.
Bounce angle, thing like that. I think.
I would know one thing for another. I'll tell you one thing. If you want a good tip on teaching people in bunkers, and a lot of people don't know this either, is if you're teaching bunker shots, do you ask them what they're looking at? The ball's there, and you're going to get them to hit behind the ball. Do you ask them what they're looking at? Leading edge of the club or back edge? What do you have them look at? Huh? But how do they know how far to hit behind it?
I just put their sternum behind the ball and hit it.
Have them draw a line with their club across like this. Okay, the ball's there. Just draw approximately where they expect the club to hit the sand. Make sense? Mm-hmm. Now, ask them to watch where the back edge is. You get the leading edge, you get the back edge. About an inch difference. But somebody that watches the leading edge, and most of us do, okay, I don't, but most people do. If you watch where the back edge hits, the ball comes out twice as high and twice as soft. And I have no idea why. But I picked this up from Julius Boris. My dad, who wasn't into gimmicks and stuff, tapes, he had this tape. And like a typical 23-year-old kid, he said, I want you to listen to what he's saying. And I listened to it. He said, what did he say? He said, well, he hits behind the ball, he does this, he does that. He says, frustrated, does it again. Listen closer. Still didn't pick it up. But he dropped, without just, I watched where the back edge of the club hits the sand and it just went right over my head. Finally, my dad said, I want you to try that. And I got no idea why. I mean, I can, if I'm going 15 feet, and if I, like I used to, look where the leading edge is, I would clear with the deals there up against the wall, I'd clear that. If I look where the back edge hits, I'd be closer to the ceiling. with the same swing, and I got no idea why. Now, if you take that technique and go to the rough, which people don't like, we tell them it's like a trap shot, but now the leading edge, let's say you're hitting a flop shot 20 feet, and the leading edge is going to be this far behind the ball. Back edge is going to be that far behind the ball. And I'll have them make a mark in the grass. That's where I want your eyes looking. Go on ahead, just give me a finish. Unbelievable difference. Because we've all done it. You got a 35-yard trap shot, or even longer, to the point that you almost need a pitching wedge, 40 yards. Okay. At some point, that leading edge is going to get close enough to the ball to get your attention. Has to. But now, if you just back it up that inch or so, you won't believe how much better it is. I mean, it's incredible. One of the best tips I've ever seen in teaching out of bunkers, which then led me to do the same thing out of the rough, and people pick it up like that. I explain to them, it says easy shot in golf because you don't hit the ball. You don't have to hit it. But the normal person is looking, okay, there's the ball, that's what I'm trying to hit, and oh my God, I'm going to hit that close to it. It makes a huge difference. Yeah.
On the longer bunker shot,
yeah.
Look at the leading edge, you're saying?
I look at the back edge on every single one.
Oh, even the 30-yard.
Anyway, because I don't want to be close to it. Because
right.
now I'm almost done with it.
Right. That's such a tough shot.
It's a terribly tough shot, but now, if my eyes, instead of being right on the ball or back here, then I'm just making a swing to my finish, it becomes an easy shot. Or easier.
Just got to give it a little bit more, that's all.
Yeah. Yes.
So on those, are you, how much do you pay attention to shaft angle at setup? Is it on low shot? Is it always just going to be a relationship relative to ball position? You're going to leave it forward. You're going to keep your back of the left hand going towards your target, or you're going to go to the high shot, ball goes forward, shaft is back.
I'm neutral to slightly ahead, unless I really got to make the ball stop quickly, and I drop it back some.
How about on the high shot?
High shot, my hands stay about neutral. Neutral back because I'm stopping my left hand immediately. My left hand's not going anywhere. So I can't put it out here and be the dead reverse.
So you kind of leave the left hand in your left pocket?
Yeah, left hand because it's a right hand shot. You know, it's a totally different shot. And that's people relate to that really quick. You know, it's hard to teach them to do the left because most people again are too right-handed. And hence most people have trouble with chipping because most people set up too square to the target. I mean, I'm way open. I mean, I'm like yesterday working with this girl. I mean, I'm going to say it was a short pin, but the flag was probably, from the shadow, was probably on a 30-foot chip shot. It was probably 7 feet left of the target, and I had her aiming at least 7 foot out. Because continually the shots are missed to the right. So you've got to see the ball going left to right, just like you're going to putt.
And then beyond 30 yards, you start adding more rotation from the body to hold the distance, or make it more of a mini golf swing at that point.
I straighten the right foot up because over 30 yards, I now want a backswing. Okay, until that, I didn't want a backswing. I mean, I want to have feel. I just want to stay very quiet over it. I just want to have feel. But after that, then my right foot's gone back to square, so that I do get some turn back. Make sure I get far enough back that I don't have to hit it.
So you take it just a quasi practice, a swing as if you had to land the ball low at about the crutches, so it's about
10 feet, 20-foot shot.
Yeah. Okay, let's go half. Yeah. 50,
Low
50,
shot.
Yeah.
Put your feet in, so don't pick you up. I would be somewhere in here. I mean, there's my posture. That's how far I've come down, and that's the key component. Because most people are good. Well, yeah. So you can see, doing this allows me. If I was here, I could obviously pull the ball back farther. But I'm going to pull it closer to me. I'll put it about on his toe there, and I'm just going to simply push it back. Get right there. Get down on it.
Could you do one more? We're just looking how far back your left hand goes rather than how much your golf club goes.
Well, the low shot would be back here, pushed away, and again, in doing this, I don't let them keep the club still. I want to have movement. So you get them
even just a miniature waggle or whatever they want, versus then the high one where I'll reverse my hands up here, throw the toe under, so the ball will stop. I mean, you get him to play all sorts of games. You get all these different shots, and this is what's intrigued Mickelson. This is a whole thing that he's never even. He's never ever hit a ball with just the toe on the ground. And throw it, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, he seems to slide the heel all the time.
Yeah, exactly. And you know that's great, but if I gave you percentages, I'd say that'd be 10% of the time. You know, the other one's so much safer.
Right.
You know,
I think that's what also prevented him from winning a couple Masters too, when you know, going the first time. Because when I ever went, he'd be sitting at 64 degree, no bounce wedge from the front of the green, just because he didn't want to play the break. It's like,
right. Well, it'll be a little different now, I think. So in other words, again, I shake the shoulders. That's one thing I'm telling you. You got to teach people because they just get tired. You get tired during 18 holes of golf, and you ride a cart. And your posture, which for the most people, they start out like this and then bend down. They're going to be way too low if they build into their system the fact of standing tall and getting feel. I kind of think like Rocco does this really well. You know, club never stops.
And you're still, on these shots right here, concentrating on the back edge of the...
No, because I'm not using the back edge.
Okay.
Just on the bunker.
See, because if you're in the bunker and you're away from it, if you're in rough, I mean, I'm going to have the club like this, so the whole bounce hits. Okay, the whole principle of this is to get on top of it.
Right.
Okay, and I'll turn it like this, so if you're looking at it, you can see how little this club's hitting. You're gonna hit actually more on the toe of the club instead of hitting like in here. You're literally gonna be hitting it somewhere in here.
Is that a deader hit? I mean, it doesn't go back.
It's just I can't hit it. I can't hit it in the center because it'd be off the ground.
Yeah.
The only part that's on the ground is the toe. It's not any deader. It is deader, but the only reason I can't get in the middle because I'm too high.
Would you sit it underneath your eyes, your middle of your cap?
I haven't thought about it. It'd be somewhere in front of me. I'm more interested in watching to see what this angle of this club is here. You know, which is pretty darn straight. The more I turn it, I mean, I can just slide. I can get it off anything. Yeah.
Is there one club better than the other to teach that with? Because I actually teach that shot, but I teach it more like a putting stroke shot. And it's for, to just carry, whatever the fringe is. It's more around the green than anything that I haven't used it. A lot of beginners, instead of trying to hit that touch shot, if they could do that stroke, like a putting stroke, carries enough over, keeps the ball on the ground, keeps going.
Right.
But I haven't used an 8-iron to do it.
8-iron. Whenever I have golf school, I use 8-irons. And I drill a hole in the end of it, which I'm assuming you do. You teach and have a club that's twice as long. So they're holding it here, this club stuck behind him, and you tell them, okay, very simple. The head club head never goes past the hands. And they'll problem? Yeah, exactly. Not a lady in Keystone, Colorado. I just left her. Jesus Christ. She was just beat herself up. I mean, she couldn't stop. I said, well, eventually she's going to get tired, and eventually she's going to learn. Keep the hands. It can't be that hard,
Break a rib.
She was crying. When I left, she was crying. But that's what I do with an 8-iron, okay? But now, saying that, my dad, when he taught me, he wanted me to chip with 5-irons, 6-irons, 7-irons, and I hated it. Only because if I mishit those, I can't really control the speed of it. And I do most of my chipping with a 60, a lot of it with a 54, but my 60 looks like a 54 when I hit it. My 54 looks like a pitching wedge. But also I'm dealing with a heavier club, slightly heavier. I'm going to be able to get through whatever grass I'm dealing with better. So yeah, your beginners, I think an 8-iron is a perfect club. Okay, but then with the better players, I want them to be able to be like a magician with the sand wedge. And hit, but again, saying that 90% of the low shots are low shots. And if it's a low shot, it is the left hand doing just what you said with the 8-iron. It never breaks down. Yes?
When you have a shot of like 40 to 70 yards, how do you vary the trajectory of the shot for the situation?
with my hands. That's a good question. In fact, that's one of the hard things to teach people is that if I take my 60-degree wedge, which I can hit 80 yards comfortably, I can force more if I had to. But if I have a 55-yard shot or 60, the last thing I got to tell myself is make sure I take it back far enough. While this may not be a full shot, or not even close to it, people tend to go back to short, and then now they got to pop it, and you cannot control the distance. Key is to teach them to take it back up here, and a lot of times I get them to hold it. Just stay up here. Okay, now do you want to hit this 50 or 65? Go on ahead and hit it. Okay, you've got to get it back. You can't start here and go. Now you just can't do it. Not that I want them to break down up here or anything, but I want them to take it back far enough that if they're not launching into it, that they can hit the shot they're trying to hit. Backswing to me would be the key. Okay. Any other questions?
Just for like brand new beginners, you know, they're always risky and
yes.
This whole thing and the road best chip. I mean, what do you feel like recommending right from the start across hand grip or belly putter or chest putter so they've got that left arm pendulum?
Don't do that.
Just start them with the traditional
Absolutely. I start them and tell them the most important thing is put both thumbs down. Get a flat grip. That's why putter grips have flat grips. Put your thumbs both of them down. And then I tell them that their left hand's their direction hand. If you got a beginner, that's perfect. Okay, and you'd have them stand slightly open. I want you to see your line. And just roll it down. It's just like you're painting with a paintbrush. Just paint it right down. Totally different than the rest of the game.
And then if someone says, well, I've been watching or I've been reading and I think I want to go to a cross-handed grip, should I talk them out of it? Or?
Cross-handed grip's fine if they do it right, but most people don't do it right. I mean, I used to work with Kite all the time, and I'd have him putting perfect conventional, and I'd see him 5 days later, here he is, cross-handed. Because I'm saying, okay, Tom, let's use your left hand. And of course, he gets like yips, he always has. So he goes like this. Okay, well, if I go cross-handed, okay, that's fine. But I want the back of my hand to go to the hole. I mean, this is brilliant because number one, it sets your shoulders level. I mean, a lot of things that were really nice about it. Provided the follow. Now, if you're dealing with somebody putting cross-handed, you got to make sure they maintain this angle. This angle can't be released. This angle you have to teach them and put a club there so that when they go through, this never breaks down. Follow me? Because what happens when they do it, they're still releasing it, so they might as well not have been cross-handed because they're not getting the advantage of it.
You ever worked with anyone with a long putter?
Kenny Perry, a few others. I mean, I look at it. David tried the long putter for a while. I mean, I just know I'm going to beat the hell out of somebody that does it. You try. I mean, it's obviously somebody that has like whiskey. I mean, he has a terrible time, especially in the wind and stuff, doing it. I mean, it's just. You got to get in the hole. They got to figure out a way to do it. I think there are better ways of doing that. I mean, I think just like what they've done here at TaylorMade is that I think the loft is the principal thing. And the people that go to the long putter probably have never tried putting with their hands ahead. And that's why I try to avoid doing it if I can. Because again, it's getting back to which hand's going to be my direction hand. Because this way, and I'm amazed it's legal. Because to me, it's not a. I wouldn't care if they use one 12 feet long, but I don't think you should be able to attach it to your body. I think it's got to be a free stroke, and then you're trying to do everything with your right hand. I would try to talk them out of it as quick as I can. I got a question for you. You do a lot of teaching? Do you teach elbows at all when you teach for women?
For putting, chipping, or
No. Long game.
Elbows?
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Well, I try most of the time. I find people are using way too much elbows. So
No. But do you understand that women are 90% double jointed?
Well, yeah, I know women are more flexible.
No, they're double jointed. Stand up. I'll show you something.
They're hyperextended.
Oh, you mean like I'm not quite sure what exactly what you're.
Put your hands out like this, palm. Now put your elbows right together.
Put my elbows together.
Now watch this. Turn around. Okay, now, you see this? Okay, now, guys, go ahead. Put your hands out like this. Now, slam your elbows together. You can't come close. If you can, you're from San Francisco. Okay, did anybody get them together?
That's no problem.
Let's see. Stand up. Let me see. Stand up. Let me see.
They need
Stand
to
up.
do yoga.
No. He did it. Okay.
I'm too mature.
That's pretty good. Okay, but now watch what. Yeah, Jesus. Now, this is what I'm saying. This is what you got to watch teaching, and there are not many people that teach this. This is the coolest thing. My wife is out. She used, when we started on tour, she played like 9 holes a year. Kathy's 5'11". She's tall. Couldn't figure out why she could, and I'm watching her. I can't do it, okay? But she literally got in here and put her elbows like that, right? She said, I'm going, Kath, you got to turn your left elbow toward the target, okay? She said, look me right in the eye. She says, what do you know? She's serious. I was pissed. And Donna Capone had just won her 2nd U.S. Open. And my dad, who was my teacher, I asked both of them. They said, oh, no, that's something you always do when you teach. Now, the reason behind it is that, see, I can hold her wrist here. She can flip her elbow to here, or she can flip, relax, she can flip her out to here, and you're not going to teach anybody to go like that. And yet, 9 out of 10 women can do it. There won't be one now. My older son, Dave, is double jointed. Okay, so he has to learn. Now, what you're looking at is when you're teaching somebody, if you're not double jointed, it doesn't make any difference where you put them. Okay, but if you are double jointed, this has to point toward the target. Now, when it does that, this needs to be totally relaxed on your side. Relax. Because what happens is the tendency, as soon as this comes from in here and goes out here, this will tend to get in. Okay? You want to relax it. And then they get full extension, because when you're teaching women, they get about halfway back and then they got to break it. And that's the whole reason that they do. Is because as they go back, they've got this extra move they got to put to it. Where we, since we don't have the flexibility, and I can't do it with my left arm now, is to just push it back. So when you're teaching, I mean, you get in there, and it just relaxes, totally relaxes. This needs to point toward the target. There you go, like that. This is relaxed. Now you can go back in one position, and you'll be able to get all your power through it. But if this sets here, you're going to break down at some point. So when you're teaching them, try to get this straight, and they can be relaxed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's bizarre. And here's my son. I mean, I'll never forget. He was 13. We're doing an outing in Detroit, Michigan for American Airlines. Thanks for being a good sport. I had maybe 36 guys and maybe 5 girls. And I always did. The 2 things I did with women is, one, to get them to stick their butt out. Because women like to step up and go like this, right? So you get them to stick their butt out, which we do. We're sloppy. We just stick it here, right? No problem. But the elbows are another thing. So these 5 girls, and the girls came, all 5 of them, and I don't know them, put the elbows right together. I said, okay, guys, try it. The only one that could do it was my son. He was 12, 13 at the time. And I thought he was going to cry. He said, oh my God, I got girls' elbows. I can do them, you know. And he literally can. I mean, he could just absolutely flip them in.
For this day?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, if you're double jointed, it's going to stay with you.
Oh, so he is double.
Oh, he's 6'3".
I thought maybe just because he's 12 and he's got all that.
Oh no. And it's funny because and if you can't do it, there's no problem. But I'm telling you, when you're teaching at the start, I always try to check if they're flexible, because then you got to make a change. And if you don't catch it, what it's going to lead to, especially with women, is they get really loose at the top, because they've come from here and they get here at some point. Well, pretty soon they're going to have to break it to get it back there. But if this is here, I can't do it with my shoulder. This is in here. Now it just goes in one position. Much more power. My wife must have gained 30 yards. Once done, and my dad told her it was okay to try it. He didn't want it for me. Any other questions?
When's the book come out? Your book come out?
I don't know. When I can get where I can do illustrations again. We've had a book. I like to do one with Phil after reading what he's done and looking at some of these pictures that are just crappy. You know, I'm curious to see what he does, because it's, we'll see.
You got the Dave, after he spends a year with you, he's going to have to send apology letters from his first DVD, isn't he, when he sends out his second DVD?
I don't think I'll have to worry about it. It's going to be interesting. He is. I'm really proud of him, and it's really been neat, the response I've got from the people. Thank you. It's kind of nice. I helped the guy with the white hat, like saying, what's up? Between Michelle playing better, but now, maybe somebody could challenge Tiger. the thing I like is like watching Dickinson there in China. I mean, which one of the two was smiling and which one was having fun and which one was... And that's what you want to teach people. You know, it's not always... And that's not everybody's personality. Tiger's personality and Phil are totally different. But, you know, it's going to be interesting this coming year. No doubt about it.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you. Good luck to you. They wouldn't have wanted to hear those numbers for that hour and a half anyway.
Bill, very nicely. Go ahead over to the PGA.
Yeah.
Right over here? PGA Park. Yeah. No, right here. Right here. Yeah.
Enjoy it, guys.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks. You got it.
All right.
That was a nice little break, huh?
That's great.
Awesome.
Yeah, thanks for arranging that.